Good afternoon, subscribers. Welcome to the new week, 24th of September 2018. Today I'm going to be talking to you about why it is that firms maximise profits at the point at which marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. And I think that you'll find this particularly useful whenever you move on from the goods market, which is of course perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic and so on, and move on and start to consider the labour market. So I think this will be particularly useful. It sort of ticks a few boxes, helps to slot the jigsaw all into place. So, got a lot of data here. I hope you can see this okay on the camera. I'll maybe zoom in on it at the end so you can maybe take a still of it and look at it a bit more closely. But this is just some data which I've taken from an Anderton textbook. And we have output, total cost, price, total revenue, profit, marginal cost, and marginal revenue. And you're given some of the data and then you have to work the rest out. So this is just simple, straightforward, do you know your formulae type of thing. So you're given output and costs, then you're told that the price of each particular unit of output is £5 per unit. Work out revenue, so you're obviously multiplying price times the output. Work out the profit, that's your total revenue minus your total cost. Gives you all of that data to that point, and then the blue data. So first column here is MC, which is marginal cost. Just notice, ladies and gentlemen, where I'm putting the points. So I'm putting them halfway between the whole numbers. So between 0 and 1, the marginal cost is going from 10 to 15, and so when it comes to plotting this on a graph, I would be plotting that at the point 0.55. And then the next one, when we go from 1 to 2, it's 15 to 18, so I'd be plotting that change in marginal cost, which is 3, I'd be plotting that at the 1.5 marker along the x-axis. Marginal revenue is fairly straightforward because we're assuming we're selling the good at the same price regardless of the number of units, so it's 5 all the time. So your marginal revenue, change in total revenue from selling an additional unit, you can see that's just going up in 5s, 5 to 10. But again, we would be plotting that at 1.55, 2.55, 3.55, etc. Okay, so here I have two sets of axes. And on the top diagram, first of all, I'm going to draw total cost curve and total revenue curve. So whenever you plot these against output, you will come up with a chart which is similar to this. And a couple of obvious things to say initially would be, here we have revenue, here we have cost. So in this area we're making a loss, and in this area where revenue is then greater than cost, we're making a profit. Now of course, where is the firm maximising its profit? Because let's not forget, this profit maximising output rule states that firms maximise profit where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. Now, we don't have marginal cost and marginal revenue on this chart, we have total cost and total revenue. But we can look at the profit numbers and see where they're maximised. And we can see here, ladies and gentlemen, at outputs of 7 and 8, profit is being maximised £5. So we can therefore indicate on the diagram, and probably see it as well, certainly when you draw accurately on some graph paper, you'll see that the distance between your cost curve and your revenue curve is greatest between those 2 points, hence indicating that you are maximising the amount of profit between those 2 points. So somewhere between, at or between units 7 and 8, you'll be maximising the profit. Now, the interesting thing to note, ladies and gentlemen, is we haven't actually discussed marginal cost and marginal revenue yet. But we really ought to, because of course, every time we look at perfect competition, monopoly, market structures, we're always saying firms maximise profit where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. Well, why is that? Well, let's look a little bit more closely at this diagram. When we move from 7 units of output to 8 units of output, 7 to 8 on the table, total revenue goes from 35 to 40. So that is obviously an increase of 5 in your total revenue. Or another way to think about that, ladies and gentlemen, would be that if you took the gradient of the line tangential to that point, you would find also that the gradient of that line was equal to 5. Now, in this instance, 5 as the gradient of that line is also equal to the marginal revenue, which will also be 5 at that point. So we can see here that the gradient of this line is actually, in effect, equal to the marginal revenue. Well, what about then costs? So total costs, ladies and gentlemen. Total costs, again, between 7 and 8, we can see total costs are going up 30 to 35, and so the increase in the total cost is 5. Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, that means that the gradient of the line tangential to that point must have a gradient which is equal to 5, and that 5, it just so happens, although it is no coincidence, that 5 is also the marginal cost at that point. So that 5 is equal to the marginal cost. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're beginning to see this already. We can therefore say that not only is profit maximised where the difference between total revenue and total cost is at its maximum, but it's also being maximised where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue, because the gradient is 5 in both instances. Now, if you were to then plot beneath this chart another set of data which showed marginal cost and marginal revenue, what you would find is that at the halfway point between 7 and 8, those two lines will intersect. So we know our MR curve would be going like that because it's 5 all the time. We can see that the whole way down as indicated, so that's marginal revenue. And our marginal cost, we can see they're both 5 at that point, so it'll be intersecting there, and the marginal cost curve, as you know, will be looking something like that. And so this is the reason why, ladies and gentlemen, not only in the goods market, where we're considering market structures of perfect competition, monopoly, oligopoly, duopoly, monopolistic competition, etc. Not only do we say in those instances that firms are maximising profits at MC equals MR, but now that we're moving into labour market theory, we can also say that profits are maximised where MC equals MRP, marginal revenue product of labour. Marginal cost of labour equal marginal revenue cost of labour. But this, ladies and gentlemen, this is the reason why costs equal revenue is the profit maximising level of output. I think sometimes it's confusing if you're just presented with this diagram and you're told, well, this level of output, Q star, is where profits are maximised. And you think to yourself, well, how can profits be maximised at that point if cost equals revenue? So if you can always have in the back of your mind this total cost, total revenue curve, and always be thinking, okay, marginal cost equals marginal revenue, but really that's the point at which the distance between revenues and costs are maximised, then hopefully that will just help to support your understanding of this particular topic. Okay, ladies and gents, that's it. Bye for now.